Hey everybody, thanks for coming back for part 2 of private money lending. If you missed out on part 1, you'll be right up there. You can catch up to us. But right now, the second step in PML is find the right rehabber or broker. One of the reasons this private money lending seems like such a secret investment vehicle is because you can't do any formal advertising without a license. It's all about word of mouth and getting known in the community as one who is willing to lend money to fund deals. The best way to enter this community is to visit your local Real Estate Investors Association meetings. Visit nationalreia.org. That's nationalreia.org. I'll put that in the description. You want to visit that site and search for your area chapter. And then you want to attend their meetings. That's what I did. I went to the meetings and I met all kinds of people, from mid to large real estate investors and landlords to small property flippers. I met hard money lenders and brokers there. It was incredible to be a part of that community. Your goal at these meetings will be to get to know experienced and trusted brokers or rehabbers. After a deal or two, you will establish a relationship and you'll gradually become quite popular as a private money lender. Third step, find the right property. Since almost everything hinges on the actual property and the associated LTV, loan to value, of the deal, you must make sure you actually know the LTV and what's known as the ARV. LTV is loan to value, how much you loaned against the value of the property, and ARV is after renovated value, after the property has been all spruced up and is ready for sale. Make sure the prospective borrower has a rehab plan. This is a rehab plan. It's an estimate that one of my rehabbers put in front of me. This is what you need to see. What is the rehabber going to do, and what are the estimates right down the line? All the stuff that needs to be fixed up and how much it's going to cost. That's a very important document, and you want to see it and pore over it and make sure you're comfortable with it. The next thing you must make sure you do is physically visit the property and take pictures. Don't just offer up your money on a property sight unseen. Maybe after a bunch of deals with the same borrower, you can maybe relax that some, but you know what? I think it's a great practice and even a great way to get to know the rehabber better. I've had some awesome times with my rehabbers, going out, checking a property out, walking around. I mean, they're experts. They know what they want to do, the siding, the flooring, everything. I know a little bit, and occasionally I would offer up my suggestions. You really want to not change that window? That looks awful. How about if you did that and this? The next thing around finding the right property is that you need to make sure you have what's called comps. That is other properties in the area of similar type and size and what they recently sold for. Now, you may want an independent person to supply those comps, but I actually find that the flipper themselves can do a great job of supplying comps if they're familiar with the area and have done deals there. The last part about finding the right property is make sure all the necessary insurance and permits and title and other details are covered. And I have some documents to aid you in those details. Which brings us to step 4. Find the right documents. The first is your terms and requirements. Now, this document right here is my terms and requirements. This is something I bring, or a person interested in private money lending would bring to that local Real Estate Investors Association meeting that I told you about. You would give this to your prospective borrowers. Now, I'm not going to take the time to review each and every line item, but my terms are in the Google Drive folder found in the description of this video. If you want to go to the next step with this, I can either do another video on every one of these terms with you, or I can discuss it with you in private. But these are all really important. These are what you are telling your borrower, what you're willing to do and what you expect from them. This is almost a snapshot of the type of private money lender you are. Again, this is in the Google Drive, referred to in the description. The next document is the loan commitment letter, right here. Now, this is a document that says you're ready to engage a borrower as a private money lender to do a deal. And this one is also in the Google Drive folder. So you can see it spells out all the different terms and has them, and actually on the back, it has the borrower sign it. This is usually signed at closing. The third document is the most important one of all. It is the promissory note. And it stipulates all the details to ensure that you receive your monthly payments and your loan principal back. It is signed by the borrower at the closing and is formally filed in a county's Register of Deeds. Very important. And it's usually about, 3 pages or whatever. It's funny, the very first promissory note that I used, I literally Googled and found online in a Word format. And I went in and I just edited it and I tried to make it my own. And I'm not a lawyer, I had no idea, but there was a lawyer involved, right? So they were able to help me with this. The last document is the payoff statement right here. And it's filled out when the deal is finished and you stipulate the prorated interest and principal to end the loan. 2 other documents that I wanted to tell you about that I've included in the Google Drive. The first is the secrets of private mortgage lending. The second is trust deed investing. Highly recommend you read through them to familiarize yourself more with private money lending. The 5th and final step: find the right lawyer. The lawyer will set up the escrow account for you to wire funds into and for the borrower to draw from during their rehab project. I didn't have a personal lawyer when I started PML, so I simply used the one my borrower had used in the past and was familiar with. All lawyer fees should be paid by the borrower, but this is really important. The lawyer should represent you in the deal, not the borrower. So, what are the risks? Yankee Stacking cares a lot about risk, if you haven't guessed. I thought of as many different things that could go wrong with private money lending. I was really concerned about my hard-earned money. The first one that I came up with is that the rehabber could borrow insufficient funds to complete the project, right? So I try to mitigate this by reviewing that rehab plan that I showed you, by visiting the property personally, physically, and working with someone experienced in estimating costs. You may even want to run the cost estimate by someone you know that understands property better than you do to really make sure that they are estimating correctly. And any rehabber who doesn't include a contingency amount in their plan isn't one I want to work with. The second risk that I was thinking about when I got into this was, what if the rehabber can't flip the property due to market conditions, right? Well, sometimes the rehabber is actually intending to keep the restored property to rent it out. But to mitigate the risk that they can't sell it, I make sure I deal with someone who owns property and already is a landlord. That way, after the property is rehabbed, your borrower can refinance the real estate with a bank and then pay you off and rent it out if necessary. The third area of risk that I mulled over was, what if the rehab fails due to personal reasons of the borrower? What if after I give him my money, he gets hit by an ice cream truck? It's pretty morose, but I had to think about these things. I try to mitigate this low risk by determining who else could step in to finish rehabbing the property. I actually now work with a larger group than just a single rehabber, and there are multiple principals in it. So if something were to happen to one of them, somebody else would step up and finish off the property. And another risk, the fourth one that I had really had to think about, was the possibility that I may be in the midst of a deal when the economic collapse occurs, right? I try to mitigate this risk by making quick deals for smaller properties. And we're talking months. A deal can go 3, 4, 5 months, and that's it. And I only focus on large apartment properties for longer term partnerships. If it's going years, I want something that's going to cash flow and weather an economic storm. Not all residential properties are equal. Single family homes, duplexes, condos, big apartment complexes, they're different. And in 2007 and 8, during the Great Recession, it was very interesting to see how each of those types of residential properties fared. The larger ones fared the best. So if I'm going to go into something for a long term, I want it to be the big ones, not a single family home. While there's always some risk to making a profit, I think this is one of the safest forms of investing out there. The loans are backed by a real asset as collateral. And I sleep a lot better at night ever since I started using private money lending. And as always, I hope your day is A-OK.